Small business is about courage, risk-taking, independence, and we small business owners are survivors. Everybody has an idea for a business, but how do you take that idea from mind to market? This is the place to learn.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
It's a new kind of school. Together we'll learn about business from the inside out, from the people who've done it. We'll meet the men and women who are today's pioneers and quiet heroes. Their lives are the textbooks. Our classroom is the world.
Small Business School is made possible by support from the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you. And by Microsoft.
We see you building a new company from an old company. We see a business full of potential. We're inspired to create software that helps you reach it.
Hi, I'm Hattie Bryant. If you work for yourself, or if you think you might want to someday, stay with us for the next few minutes. This show is all about starting and growing a business. Typically, we take you to a business and give you a chance to learn from one owner. However, today you'll meet several who all have one thing in common. They go home to work. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, we were farmers, shopkeepers, craftsmen, and we worked where we lived, the farmer on the land, the shopkeeper above her shop. After the Industrial Revolution, we started going to work for other people, and we left home. Well, now we're staying home. We're returning to our old ways, but with new tools. So we can be anywhere at any time without leaving home. The first time we took you to home-based companies, we went off-road in Central Oregon and found Greg Steckler, owner of Log Rhythms.
Good morning.
Well, you must be Greg.
I am.
I thought I was never going to get here.
Come on in, take a look here, and we'll... I worked for 18 years out of my truck as a log home general contractor, and although that was very enjoyable, it was time to do other things. And I fell in love with computers about 4 years ago, and wow, it was just, I hung up the chainsaw and traded it in for a monitor and a keyboard. Come on over, Hattie. I'd like you to meet Kevin Taylor. Kevin, this is Hattie.
Kevin. In the middle of 45 acres and surrounded by the Bureau of Land Management, Greg and his one employee produce plans for log homes. But growth and client demand forced Greg into more traditional offices in town. Not far from Greg, in a cluster of homes, we found Brett Lasorella.
I really like being able to use my time effectively, and everything I need is right at my fingertips. I do custom software development, systems integration, using computers to solve business problems. My goal is to be able to live and work any place in the world. It's possible in this day and age, if you've got done your homework, you have the background, like to work alone, use a support network, to do
Anything.
practically anything if you've got the goods, if you've got the skills and the intelligence and the drive. And those things aren't easy, but they're possible. So if you develop yourself that way, you can do what you want.
Then, in a cozy Dallas neighborhood, we found Sue Kaufman, a PhD in English. She left academia in 1992 and has not looked back. She is the grammar lady.
The name of my business is Wordsworth, named after my favorite poet, William Wordsworth. And it's also a description of my business because I can write for you, I can edit for you, or I can teach you how to write better. All I need to do my work is a computer, a fax machine, and a telephone. Now that's money in the bank. And in fact, through networking and through referrals, I have gotten a lot of clients that I have never met.
He loves you being at home all the time.
Oh yeah, it's great. They don't have to wait for me to come home at night.
We drove 20 miles from the art district of Santa Fe to meet Joel Green, who makes a living by painting at home.
I don't have a lot of money by a lot of people's standards, but I managed to spend my time doing pretty much what I want to do. I like nothing better if I can not even start the car for 3 or 4 days, and just stay out here and do my work and nap and read and.
Can you imagine yourself doing anything else?
No, I don't, and I've thought about this sometimes. I can't imagine myself doing it, and the cynic in me says that's because you're too dumb and lazy to do anything else.
There he is.
Welcome, Hattie.
Hey, Ron.
Come
To
on
learn
in.
more about companies operating from homes today, we decided not to look all over the country, but to look at the end of our own hallway and behind our own doors.
Hey, Bruce, can you pay Doris, please?
Yes, it's true. We create this television series, its supporting website, and a new business offering CPAs continuing professional education from our home. Bruce Camber, my husband, is the founder and executive producer of Small Business School. He is having fun.
Here we are on one of my favorite spots in the building. Just love it to come up here to the helipad.
The roof.
And look out. We're 5 minutes from a cherished airport. We're 10 minutes from the Del Coronado.
Right.
We're 20 minutes from Tijuana. We have the playground of the mountains, and we have all the resources of this fabulous city. What is there not to love?
You forgot to mention the Pacific Ocean.
From a high-rise condominium in downtown San Diego, people are running businesses. And this is just one of the thousands of places like this in every city, and soon, we believe, in every town in America.
Do you think you'll ever go back to a place where you'd have to get in the car and drive to an office?
Oh, no. Why? I would never want to.
Our neighbor, Bud Crystal, is the global expert on CEO compensation.
And you're right, zero commute. I mean, it's 5 seconds to the office, except if my wife's in the way, you got to shove her. You know, that's 7 seconds then. Then you have, all right, then she gets mad for 30 minutes, and I can't count that.
We got some good weather today. Well, Ron, how do you get anything done in here? Look at this view.
Also, our neighbor, Ron Bowman, runs his real estate enterprise from his magnificent home.
So you never found a home office to be a detriment to building a business?
No. It's not a detriment, but you sure get involved sometimes, and sometimes you want to get away from it a little more. So you may have to take a long weekend or something to get away from the office. I've got stuff scattered throughout the Midwest. I've got 560 apartments in Manhattan, Kansas. I've got 150,000 feet of commercial space in Kansas City that's a medical building and an office building. I've got quick shops up in Omaha and other stuff strung around the Midwest. The only way that you could leave that and manage everything from California now is due to the internet, due to email, due to the fax machine. I can sit here and do almost anything I could do there.
We have more tools right in this office than they had in the CIA 10 years ago. You know, we have so many tools. We don't need to go anywhere. We've got it all right here. There's nothing in those big office buildings that we can't have right here. There's no privilege behind the towers of the Fortune 500. They have nothing that we don't have. So why should we go anywhere? The issue is, who are you and what do you want to do with your life?
5413. The main thing I have to do is produce an article once a week.
Okay.
And that takes a certain amount of time to research the article. So you have to go to documents and you do mathematical modeling, and you use all sorts of tools that you use in this field to get the information needed to do the article. And then you write the article, and then you send it to New York, and then you start fighting with the editors. For 20 years, I was a consultant, and people paid for my advice. I suppose you could say when I was a professor at Berkeley, people paid I wasn't giving advice. I was almost issuing orders to students.
That was the best
telling them
part.
what they're supposed to believe.
Right.
And now, you know, I write articles for Bloomberg, and I get paid for articles, and I do some expert witness work. But he has billions of dollars of wealth, and he just doesn't want to make a point of it. In 1973, a CEO of a major company made about 45 times the pay of an average worker. By 1991, when I wrote a book, it was up to 150 times. And now it's about 500 times the pay of a worker. In studying these ratios of pay, I figure by about 2025, we're going to have the same ratio of pay in America as existed in 1789 when Louis XVI was King of France. And you know what happened to Louis XVI? Yeah. And by the way, they got his wife too.
Right.
John Kenneth Galbraith wrote an article back in the 60s when the tax rate was 91% in this country.
Yes.
And he said he couldn't understand why executives were clamoring for raises when they had to give all but 9% away to the government. And he said the answer was the executives adopted the convenient way of looking, they looked only at their pre-tax pay. In effect, whoever has the biggest package is, you know.
Wins.
Yes,
Is winning.
yes,
or
yes.
is it the top of the heap?
Males are always interested in size.
And I will say to everybody that Bud has a huge house. Did you ever dream when you were 16 years old in Kansas that you would be sitting on top of the world in San Diego, California?
I recall sitting in college in one of the lecture classes and thinking if I could make $15,000 a year, I'd be on top of the world. That is like nothing.
Well, you did that a long time ago, right? And you achieved that goal very quickly.
Yes.
And you just kept setting new ones.
Yes. You always got to have goals.
There's got to be something that you're doing right that would be instructive to people watching this in terms of building a business.
I did something, that first home I did was different than what everybody else was doing in the area. It was some things that I'd learned from the architect that I worked for while I was in high school, and I brought some of my previous learnings along with me.
So was it so different when I'm driving down the road and I stop and slam my brakes on and go, wow, that's so different?
It was a different type of construction, not the standard frame construction that everybody else was doing in the area.
Okay. So maybe one key to success is do it different?
Different and maybe better than the other guy. I mean, you can't just be different. You've got to be, I'm a type A personality. I very insisted on perfection.
Okay.
And everything had to be just perfect, and consequently, in the construction business, that gets you lots of points.
Okay.
But I had a lot of clients who waited years to have me do work too. So, I mean, when I shut down my business, it took 4 years to work off the list that I had accumulated.
How do you keep on top of things? How do you know where you are now to set your next level of goals?
Well, every year I make up a new financial statement. And in that, we go through and put the current values on the properties that we own, get reappraisals or whatever it's necessary to come up with those. And it turns into kind of a game on how much you can add to the bottom line every year. But you really have to stay on top of what you've got. Like in Kansas City right now, the leasing market is running about 20% vacant on the commercial side. My product is running like 4% vacant because I constantly remind my broker what I have vacant, and consequently he stays on top of my stuff.
If you had a 20-year-old in that same architect class that you took come to you today and say, Ron, I want to be like you, what would you tell them?
Hard work.
Yeah.
Listen to your clients. Put in your time. Yeah. And you should make it.
If you're sitting in a beautiful home on the harbor of San Diego, just about as far away from where a lot of people think big decisions are made
I should
in
be
New
in
York
New York.
City.
Yeah.
So how does
which
that
I was
work?
for 24 years.
Right. Okay.
I think the thing that saves me, now that I think about it, is the media, because I do talk to them. I don't see them, but I'm on the phone probably 2 or 3 hours every day, talking to various people all around the world.
So in addition to making television, you're publishing a large amount of support to help the viewer learn more.
Constantly.
So you're really a manufacturer and a publisher.
We are. We're manufacturing and publishing.
All right, now I want to ask the question, how do you do that from a home office?
We have the most incredible infrastructure of computers. We have installed computers, and we're installing more computers every day. They're called edge servers. We have our primary computer in Alabama, and when we turn on our computers, we're directly connected to every single one of our main computer and all of our edge servers.
What kind of work goes on the flat screens behind you right now?
We actually edit the rough cut of a show. We take the raw footage in, and you will sit down with our editor, who specially comes flying in from Dallas, and you'll sit at these computers and actually pull the story together. It's called offline editing, and the three of us will concur on the storyline and the major parts of it. And then John will take it back with him to Dallas and really fine-tune it, make everything beautifully equalized, sound and visual.
Tell me when you got the aha or the insight, or it hit you, I should office at home, or I could office at home. When did that happen?
This is a little strange because I think I had that epiphany in 1979 when we were doing a special project at MIT. And we began seeing the power, not of the internet then, but of network computing. Well, obviously in 1994, when the internet began to break open and we started the television show, I began to realize, my goodness, we can live anywhere, we can be anywhere, and we can do anything we want at any time we want. The internet was a great awakening for me. It was a wonderful aha, because now it was, wow, it's no longer just Massachusetts, but I can live anywhere.
In 1979, when I started my business, I officed at home. My initial goal was to keep overhead low. But as I worked that way, I realized there are lots of reasons to work at home. My favorite reason? Zero commute time. Just imagine what we could accomplish if we could make productive all those human resource hours wasted and frustrated in commuting. What could we accomplish if we could save all the wear and tear on our vehicles and cut down our energy consumption? What else could we have been doing with those dollars? Surely we can be making ever more perfect workspaces within our homes. Home offices are especially springing up in high-rises throughout the cities of the world. That's even better. It preserves more of our open spaces, reduces urban sprawl, and aggregates more business resources within walking distance. So let's come full circle. The information revolution has become the knowledge revolution. Let's move on to an insight revolution, and most of that will happen by going within, not by running out and about. At smallbusinessschool.org, there is self-help study for people who want to start a business and for those who want to grow the business they have. To learn more about this episode, choose the overview. You can read every word you're hearing today when you choose the transcript and go deeper with the case study. There's streaming video and access to interactive study guides throughout the site.
The thing is, I do a lot of thinking, and it's just nice to be in a place where it's quiet, where you don't have coworkers barging in and saying, "Hey, you got a couple minutes? I want to talk to you about something," or whatever. And so I really enjoyed working at home. Now, in the early years when I did that, I had a tremendous amount of client contact because I was a consultant, and so I had lots of interaction with people.
Would you go to them?
And I go to them for meetings.
Right.
And then I do the, it's like I was a one-man little factory. So, I mean, I'd come home and put on my work clothes and then, saw and nail and everything and build some and then put on this nice suit and then carry it to a boardroom and show it to them. For me, working at home is an advantage because I'm a workaholic.
Let's talk about that. So at 2 in the morning, you get an idea.
I mean, I once went to a shrink when I lived in New York under tremendous pressure. And she spent several sessions with me, and she said, you really don't need to see me. She said, you're a garden variety obsessive compulsive neurotic. And she said, some people wash their hands 1,000 times a day, and other people face east, and you just like to work. And she said, I know you because I'm 83 years old, and I'm working 6 days a week myself. And she said, now, my advice to you is very simple. She says, don't ever stop working, because if you do, you'll probably fall into such a depression you might kill yourself.
Would you say that you're a workaholic?
I would say that I am passionately in love with the vision of a new future, and that I will work tirelessly to see that future happen. Otherwise, what's the alternative? More of the same? Going and working for a Fortune 500 or a Fortune 1000 company has meaning and value to you. Do it. It's a wonderful thing to do. But if you're driven by some inner vision, if you really dislike something about the world and you want to change it, then start your own business and go for it.
You have to be a perfectionist. You have to really work with the people closely and listen to them. They're going to recommend you, and they're going to wait for you the next time they want to do a project.
First thing I'd say, you have to be single-minded. You really have to, like a horse with blinders on, that I'm not going to be distracted by television and this and that, and I'm not going to, if you have a home, I'm not going to walk out in the garden and start picking out the flowers or, nice pool, I think I'll take a dip, that sort of thing.
What keeps you jazzed? I mean, when you wake up in the morning, what gets you out of bed?
Need to have a project. Got to have one of these that I'm working on buying or selling or renovating or something. I've got too much of that in my blood that I've got to have a project. The people close to me say that when I'm not involved in something very heavily, I'm not a happy person. So I'm always pushing to do something new.
Okay.
I'm to the point to where I don't need to work anymore, but I still am driven for some reason to continue to build a portfolio and to build a net worth.
I don't think I've worked a day in my life, actually. I've always played. But my play is my work, and my work is understanding something about the very essence of life.
To me, it's the worst thing in the world is to have a job that you really don't like, because it takes so much of your time. It can ruin your whole life. But if you have a job you like, I don't think you ever want to get rid of it. I mean, what else is there to do?
Barbara Graneman grew her home-based business with direct marketing, and it teaches children in their homes.
The Midwest School of Music was formed in '98 to give parents an option for music lessons. So I decided that if we targeted a specific demographic in Indianapolis, that it would really shortcut the time it took to get a studio running. So my husband and I drove around neighborhoods that had obvious numbers of children in them, swing sets and newer suburbs, and we sent out postcards and had a very good response.
Then how did you get the list for that neighborhood?
We just addressed them as current resident and we copied down addresses. We drove through many.
You didn't buy a list
No.
that was spit out of a computer somewhere. You created the list yourself by hand by driving the neighborhoods.
Well, and using a tape recorder for just speaking the names of the addresses into it. I mean, it was so simple, but my philosophy is you don't have to put a lot of money into something to get started.
Do you remember how many pieces you mailed in your first mailing?
We mailed approximately 500.
Okay.
And we consistently received a 1% return.
Tell me where you are now. How many teachers, how many students?
We have about 450 students and about 45 teachers. We teach primarily in the students' homes, but we also teach in after-school adjunct programs,
Sure,
and that's a
sure.
very popular thing.
Sure. And it all started with a postcard.
With a postcard.
The new business infrastructures that have emerged with the advent of digital workflow and digital communications has disintermediated space and time. We are being given license to return home and make a private workspace that can readily blanket the world. I'll see you next time.
Small Business School is made possible by support from the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you. And by Microsoft.
We see you building a new company from an old company. We see a business full of potential. We're inspired to create software that helps you reach it.
If you want to learn more about starting, running, and growing a business, come to our website, smallbusinessschool.org. There's streaming video and interactive study guides. The only way we can compete with big business is to be faster, smarter, and better. We are the engine of the American economy. We create the jobs. Small business is about big commitment. It's about sacrifice and struggle. But we do it because we say, if I don't do this, my life won't be complete.